Imagine this. It's the 1930s in the Deep South. A black mother stands in her kitchen while her children crowd around a small table, trying to finish school assignments with books so damaged the pages barely hold together. Their school has no updated maps, no real science materials, and no library. Meanwhile, the white school across town gets new supplies every single year. That difference wasn't by accident. Jim Crow made sure black schools received the least, and in many towns, nothing at all. Scope News does a deep dive. But this is where the story shifts. The one place Jim Crow couldn't control was the mailbox. And because of that, Sears, Roebuck, and Cobers slipped into black educational history in a way most people never talk about. Black teachers had to find ways to teach with whatever scraps they could find. Some black schools operated out of worn church buildings or patched-up rooms with no desks and no resources. When the county refused to send materials, and that refusal was the norm, teachers looked anywhere they could for substitute tools. The Sears catalog became part of that workaround. It wasn't written for schools, but it was full of diagrams, measurements, simple maps, machine illustrations, clothing charts, and product descriptions. Teachers pulled what they could from it because the state gave them nothing else. And inside black households, the reputation of the catalog grew. Many families called it the wish book. Not because of toys, but because it showed children things their own schools refused to provide: maps, diagrams, technology, agriculture layouts, home blueprints, and the kind of information white schools had in abundance. For some students, the catalog was the closest thing they had to a real set of academic materials. While the catalog helped fill day-to-day gaps, a much larger shift was building behind the scenes through a partnership between two men whose backgrounds couldn't have been more different: Booker T. Washington and Julius Rosenwald. Julius Rosenwald grew up in Chicago as the son of German-Jewish immigrants. He became a major businessman, helping transform Sears into a national mail-order powerhouse. But despite living far from the South, he carried a personal understanding of discrimination. His own community had been targeted for generations. His grandson and biographer, Dr. Peter Ascoli, later explained that Rosenwald felt a direct connection to African Americans because he recognized the pattern. In 1911, Rosenwald wrote that racial hatred hit the Jew more forcefully than others of the white race because Jewish people had suffered persecution for centuries and still suffer. That perspective shaped Rosenwald's response when Washington showed him the conditions black children were forced to endure. Rosenwald didn't treat the issue as something distant. He recognized the system for what it was: engineered inequality. Booker T. Washington came from a very different world. Born enslaved in 1856, he built Tuskegee Institute on the belief that education was the one tool the South couldn't take back once a child earned it. He spent years traveling through rural communities, fundraising, and documenting how counties intentionally starved black schools of resources. In 1911, Tuskegee needed a new white trustee, and Rosenwald's name came up. Their meeting led to Rosenwald visiting Tuskegee and seeing the reality for himself: children learning in shacks, buildings with no flooring, schools with no desks or materials, and counties openly refusing to fund black education. Rosenwald didn't turn away. In 1912, he funded 6 rural Alabama schools. They proved that better buildings could change outcomes immediately. The success led to the creation of the Rosenwald Fund in 1917. Between roughly 1912 and 1932, nearly 5,000 schools, teacher homes, and vocational shops rose across the South. Black families raised money. Rosenwald matched it. And counties were forced into participating, even when they didn't want to. Some of these schools still stand today. The Tankersley School in Hope Hull, Alabama, 1922, opened after black families raised their share, and Rosenwald matched it. Principal Jacob W. Williams helped lead the school until 1967. The Noble Hill School in Bartow County, Georgia, 1923, became the first properly constructed school black students ever received in that county. The Hopewell School in Cedar Creek, Texas, 1921-1922, existed because Martin and Sophia McDonald, a formerly enslaved couple, donated the land and rallied their community. These weren't gifts, these were victories black families fought for. At the same time, the Sears catalog remained a constant presence. Jim Crow could block black shoppers from stores and allow merchants to refuse service, but it couldn't interfere with mail order deliveries. If a black family had cash and a mailbox, Sears delivered. Schools ordered building materials. Teachers clipped diagrams for lessons. Families accessed items the county refused to provide. The catalog didn't fix segregation, but it opened a door the South tried to shut. People remember the Sears catalog as a nostalgic household item. For black Americans living under Jim Crow, it was something different. It was a workaround, a source of information, a quiet tool of resistance. Sears didn't make the system equal, but it helped black families access what the South tried to keep out of reach. What the evidence shows is straightforward. Sears became useful to black education because the South left a vacuum, and the catalog slipped into the space the government refused to fill. The Rosenwald schools existed because local officials wouldn't build adequate facilities without outside pressure. And the only reason any of these efforts succeeded is because black communities supplied the labor, the fundraising, and the persistence the state withheld. Nothing about this was accidental. It was a workaround created in response to a system that made black education a low priority by design. That is the documented pattern behind the numbers, the buildings, and the catalog pages. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. Booker T. Washington and Julius Rosenwald began collaborating in 1911. Rosenwald funded 6 Alabama schools in 1912 and later supported nearly 5,000 schools across the South. Tankersley, Alabama, Noble Hill, Georgia, and Hopewell, Texas, remain documented Rosenwald schools. The Sears catalog was widely used by black households during segregation and served as an indirect educational tool due to severe underfunding in black schools. Legal disclaimer. This Scope News report is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes. Viewer discretion is advised due to historical themes involving segregation and systemic racism. All descriptions reflect documented historical accounts. Gaps may exist due to incomplete archival preservation. Thank you for watching Scope News.